Man, it's the T-Train Show. Y'all know what time it is, man. What up, T? What up, Hot Rod? What up, L-Train? Y'all know what time it is, man. It's the Three the Hard Way.
Welcome, Three the Hard Way Nation out there to another episode of Three the Hard Way. I gotta introduce my fellas because we got a lot to talk about today. The host of the locker room, the influencer, Mr. Rodney Young. What's going on, Hot Rod?
What is going on, Three the Hard Way Nation? What's going on, fellas? This is your friendly neighborhood coach, and as I always say, you may not like what I'm saying, but you will listen.
And the captain of Three the Hard Way. We call him Cap. I know him as T. What's going on, Cap?
What's going on, Three the Hard Way Nation? What's going on, fellas? Let's get this show on the road. Let's get this ship underway. Let's go. Let's go.
Man, the past couple of weeks have been rough. We've been having technical difficulties, stuff not uploading, but hopefully we'll be back because we got a lot of stuff that we need to talk about today. First of all, with those Cleveland Cavaliers, I'll let you know where my mindset is with the Cleveland Cavaliers, but of course, everybody wants to hear from you guys. Everybody wants to talk about the Cavs being down 3-0. You know, looking at the series and how it started, give me your overall impressions of the games, fellas.
Okay, I'll start here, and I'm going to take a page out of Brad Sellers and Mike Snyder's playbook. I listen to their post-game shows after each game, and I turn off, TNT, the great Kenny, Earl, and Shaq. I turn them off, and I listen to the local guys. And basically right now, L Train and Three the Hard Way Nation, the Cavaliers are tired. They are tired. They have no more energy. Let me just give you some stats. Let's go back to game one. Harden played 42 minutes. Mitchell, 41 minutes. Mobley, 40 minutes. Allen, 35 minutes. Wade and Merrill, 29 and 28. Game two, Mitchell, 39 minutes. Mobley, 37 minutes. Allen, 29. And Harden, 32. Okay, and then game three, the last game, Mobley, 36 minutes. Harden, 41. Mitchell, 38. Strus, 31. And Merrill, 24. And the bad part about that on the back end, the guys off the bench haven't been playing well enough to just kind of come in and fill in, okay? So after you have played 2 7-game series, 2 long series, and you can even go back to the first series with Toronto in game 4 where we had that 8-point lead and had the meltdown where we lost. You can even go back as far as that. Bottom line, the Cavaliers, okay, and they're tip-top athletes, tip-top guys that are in shape, but they are human beings at the end of the day, and these guys are just tired. You had 2 7-game series, and neither series, well, start with Toronto. That series shouldn't have gone 7 games. It shouldn't have gone 7 games, but it did. Fast forward to Detroit. Again, although, that Piston team is tougher, more physical than the Toronto team, but that too shouldn't have gone 7 games. So as a result of that, here we are playing every other night, starting with game 1, blowing a 22-point lead with under 8 minutes left. That's where it all started, and we haven't been able to rebound from that. So bottom line, why are our Cavaliers where they are right now? They're just tired, okay? They're tired, they're worn out, and they have nothing left. I'm tired, and I'm sure a lot of the fans are too, because, staying up watching these games that come on at 8 o'clock, I get up at 4 in the morning. So, by the time these games are over and you listen to the post game, daggone it, it's almost midnight. So, really as a fan of this team, going back to the days of Jim Brewer, Austin Carr, Jimmy Clement, Nate Thurman, Jim Jones, I'm just ready for it to end. I'm ready for it to end. I have no expectations for them tonight, and if I'm a Knicks fan and if I'm a New York Knicks player, I'm gonna just go ahead and finish these guys off tonight, okay? And that's what I'm hoping that happens. We just don't have it. We just don't. Again, the Cavs are tired, they're worn out, so it's time to move on. I'm not going to say what moves need to be made going forward. I'm not going to say that because, again, it'll all be based on emotion. I think we, got to sit back and see, what direction the organization goes in. But this team is just tired and they have nothing left in them. That's the way I see it. What you see, Hot Rod?
So, I hear your assessment, Cap, and I completely agree 150%. However, game 4 in the fourth quarter, that is where I saw my Cleveland Cavaliers quit. They quit. And it came on a drive that Jalen Brunson had in the fourth quarter, and everybody was just standing still. This Cavalier team has quit. Kenny Atkinson has been outcoached by Mike Brown horribly. His responses after game 3 and game 4 to me are fireable offenses simply because he has made it sound as if he is clueless on what to do. I'm being honest, Cap. I really believe that the Cavaliers were complacent and they're okay with just making the Eastern Conference Finals. I think they were okay with that because the New York Knicks are a good team. They're on a hot streak, kind of like the Indiana Pacers were last year. However, they're not that good. And so they have punched Cleveland in the mouth. There has been absolutely no response. There has been no energy, no effort. I don't know if Donovan Mitchell is hurt or what.
He is.
If he's hurt, then say it, because his performances have looked atrocious. James Harden is just a bigger version of Darius Garland, other than the fact that Darius Garland didn't turn the ball over as much as James Harden does. You're looking at a 36-year-old point guard who at one point in time was the best ISO scorer in the game. Well, he's 36 years old. He can't get around guys like that anymore. And
can't do it.
It has been utterly atrocious. The fact that they have refused to get Jared Allen in the game. They've refused to get the ball to Evan Mobley because the Knicks bigs cannot guard those guys. It was shown in game 2 and game 3. But I believe, and I hear you, Cap, when you say that you don't want to talk in emotion. And I get that.
Don't want to.
But something has to be addressed after this series because there has been coaching malpractice on the part of Kenny Atkinson. I mean, coaching malpractice. Some of the decisions and moves that he made, I question even if he needs to continue to coach this team. I get it. There were a lot of injuries during the year. He had to do a lot of hodgepodging when it came to lineups. However, when you look at game 4 and at what he said after game 4, he said, what did he say? He made a statement saying that analytically,
something about the analytics or something. Yeah, analytically.
Yeah, analytically.
Analytically. The series should be 2-1. Analytically, yeah.
And once again, that's a fireable offense. You're down 3, sir. Analytics means nothing because analytically, you guys stink. And you guys, like I said, they got complacent. They got to the Eastern Conference Finals, even down in Mitchell. They got to the Eastern Conference Finals. They say, okay, hey, we're here. Good for us. The New York Knicks are like, we're trying to go to the championship. Now, I will say this. Whoever comes out of the East, it doesn't matter. Because whether it's OKC or whether it's San Antonio, that's your next world champion. Because neither one of these teams, the Knicks or the Cavaliers, can beat OKC in a 7-game series or San Antonio. Period. But changes have to. Go ahead, Cap.
I will say, though, Hot Rod, if the Knicks finish us off tonight, as they should, and I think that's going to happen, San Antonio and OKC may go 7. So a positive for the Knicks going forward is that they'll at least get some rest. Okay? They will at least get some rest. Now, true, they are inferior to both of those teams in the West. They are. They're inferior. However, if they can get some rest, they're still healthy, you never know what might happen. You never know what might happen. I'm not going to root for them. I'm not going to root for anybody once it's all over, okay? I'll watch. I ain't rooting for nobody. I don't root for anybody, any other team other than our teams, our Cleveland teams. But again, if that, that game, that series over in the West is going to go at least 6, Hot Rod, maybe even 7. And the Knicks can get some rest, so you never know. You never know. But you're right. This Knicks team isn't that great. They're not those Warrior teams that we used to go up against, okay? They're not even close to it. The problem with us is, like you say, coaching malpractice. Our bench guys aren't giving us enough when they come in. Because again, like I say, our starters are tired. They're tired. 2-game-7s, two 7-game series, and then playing every other night. Those guys are worn out. And not to make any excuses for them, but yeah, going forward, again in the championship, you're right. The champion is coming out of the West. But, that Knick team may give them a little bit of a fight based on the fact that they'll be rested, But, yeah, I'm ready for it to end. Staying up late at night, watching these games, and then, watching, listening to the post game, listening to Brad and, on the post game show. 4 o'clock, my alarm clock goes off. I'm worn out. So, again, yeah, I'm ready for it to end. And I don't want to speak on emotion, but something does need to happen in the offseason because this team is not championship caliber the way it's constructed right now. They're not championship caliber. They're the fourth. They're number 4 out of the 4 teams left. That's where we are.
Yeah.
A little bit different take in it. I'm back. Go ahead, Hot Rod.
I'm sorry. So I look at it like this. Like I said, they got complacent getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. Kenny Atkinson, you're talking to guys who coached at a high level, maybe not that high, but at a high level. And I'm calling coaching malpractice. I said on one of our previous shows is that I think Johnny Bryant, the assistant coach, has done more coaching than Kenny Atkinson. When you don't have energy, what's the purpose of having these young guys on the bench if you're not going to use them? What's the purpose of having Craig Porter Jr. if you're not going to use him? What's the purpose of having Naquan Tomlin and you're not going to use him? Even a veteran like Larry Nance. Thomas Bryant, I think that upsets me the most is because Thomas Bryant was in the NBA Finals last season. So you mean to tell me that through these series, you couldn't use Thomas Bryant at all? That doesn't make sense to me. And so, yeah, I'm going to remove the emotion. I do believe that the Knicks are a better team. They've showed it. But for me, as long as Jalen Brunson doesn't play defense, which he is a defensive liability, Karl Anthony Towns can fall off the ledge in a heartbeat. You're not expecting Jason Hart to score 26 points a night. The Knicks are not that good. They are good. They are good in this series because the Cavaliers are just that bad. And if you want to talk fatigue, I'll give you that to an extent because they have been load managing this team. Kenny Atkinson has been load managing this team the entire season. So miss me when it comes to them being fatigued. Miss me because they have had games where they did not play and they've been sitting out the majority of the season. Donovan Mitchell, who is hurt, has flamed out again. And he has made Shaquille O'Neal look like a prophet because Shaquille O'Neal told him to his face that he did not have the killer team. He did not have the ability to get the team over the top. And James Harden is James Harden. James Harden is about James Harden. He doesn't care about anything else but James Harden, period. My last thing, they're going to re-sign him. They're going to re-sign Donovan Mitchell. The question that you have is, what are you going to do with Evan Mobley? Because that Giannis Antetokounmpo trade is still out there. To me, and we all know, let's talk about the elephant in the room. LeBron is returning. He's either going to return to Cleveland or he's going to retire. He has nowhere else to go. And no one else is going to pay him an inordinate amount of money to come and play for them at 42, 43 years old. The key is, who does LeBron want on this team? Kobe Altman is not going to dismantle this team for a 42-year-old LeBron James, but he's going to think about it. So tonight, I'm not anticipating the Cavaliers. If the Cavaliers win tonight, it'll be a gentleman's sweep. It'll get back to New York. But to say that people think that they can win these next 3 games, yeah, I got a bridge over in Brooklyn that I can sell you. I'm a realistic Cleveland fan. Go ahead, L Train.
No, when I look at the Cavaliers and where they are right now, I think a lot of the emotion stems from that ugly ass first game that they played where they blew the 22-point lead with about 7 minutes left to go. See, when you have – this is my problem with Cleveland teams, and this has always been my frustration. Like, we can't lose. We have to find a different way to get your hopes up high and then have everything come down, crashing down. Like, if there was a more egregious way to lose that game, the Cavaliers would have found it. So when you see a 22-point lead evaporate, doesn't surprise me, man. It just kind of is what it is and is what the Cavaliers do. My whole thing is, you know, is it the emotion of that game? Or for me, have the Cavaliers hit their ceiling? Like, even when we made that trade for James Harden and through the course of the year when the Cavaliers were playing well, I don't think anybody was expecting finals for the Cavaliers. I don't think anybody was expecting championship for the Cleveland Cavaliers. I thought when we made the James Harden trade, I thought we had gotten better. We were definitely a better basketball team, but I think the verdict was out whether or not we were going to be better than the Knicks or whether we were going to be better than Boston. I think we could probably all agree that we weren't really afraid of the Detroit Pistons, but the New York Knicks and the Boston Celtics, even with the trade, were two teams that we were still concerned about. And I just think we've hit our ceiling. I think that the Knicks are a better team than us. I think the coaching, and I try not to crush and evaluate other basketball coaches because Flip Saunders used to always tell me, you put 20 coaches in the room, give them an idea of how to attack one object, they're going to attack it 20 different ways. But my whole thing with Kenny Atkinson, and I heard some people call him Kenny Stefanski, that's his new name, Kenny Stefanski. I look at some of the mistakes that he's made down the stretch, man. And guys, I do this for a living, man. And I'm like, how do you not call a timeout on a 16, 18 zip run just to stop the flow? And then the fact he came out after that and said, well, I like to store my timeouts, which I know a lot of coaches that do that, but you don't let a 16, 17, 18-0 run go without stopping it some sort of way. And then you had Mobley, who had a great start to that game, to the point where he doesn't get another field goal attempt in the second half. That's where coaching comes into play. I know a lot of people like to blame it on Mobley, but man, as a coach, you see a guy start off like that, you should be getting him the ball. You should run your best sets for Mobley. Get him in spaces where he can succeed. Where is that? I mean, Kenny Atkinson has done such a poor job in coaching this team that it overshadows everything. It has just been terrible. It is fireable, in my opinion, some of the things that he's done. I don't think they're going to fire him. But when you look at his body of work to these playoffs, man, 2 game sevens he won. Now he comes out, has a really, really good game, won, 22-point lead, 7 minutes left to go. Man, I just thought that I wasn't going to watch another game after that, because if you can't win that game, then why am I spending the time? And that's just kind of where I am with the Cleveland Cavaliers and Kenny Atkinson. I'm with you, Cap. I'm tired of it. I hope the New York Knicks can take us out of our misery tonight and go ahead and
take us out back and shoot us. Take us out back and shoot us.
Yup. And after that, we get on our hands and knees and beg for LeBron James, because it is obvious that this franchise can't do it without LeBron. They need the reinforcements of him coming back. They just can't do it without him. So let's go ahead and lose this game and bring LeBron James back in the fold. That's where I am with the Cleveland Cavaliers.
Yeah. I ain't got nothing else to say. Go ahead, Hot Rod. I ain't got nothing else to say.
I mean, I agree with your assessment, L Train. Let me pose this question to you guys. If you are the general manager of the Cleveland Cavaliers, what would you do during the offseason? Give me a couple of your moves that you think, other than LeBron. We know LeBron is coming back, but what ancillary moves would you make? Would you trade Evan Mobley? Would you get rid of Jared Allen? What would you do?
Again, I don't want to speak out of emotion, okay? But the biggest thing that sticks out right now is the head coaching job that Kenny Atkinson has done, or lack thereof, okay? Now, as far as James Harden, it's clear that he doesn't help you come playoff time. It's clear. To this point, he hasn't helped us, okay? He's great in the regular season, but we need help come playoff time, okay? So I don't know if I would allow him to opt in or whatever you can do where you can trade him. If that's allowing him to opt in or opt out, I don't know how that works. But I've seen enough of him, although I was cool with the trade. I really, really was, because Darius Garland, again, we weren't going anywhere with him. So I had no problem with us acquiring James Harden. But going forward, where we need him is the playoffs, and he just ain't the answer. And next year he'll be 1 year older. So that's the only thing I'll say. I'm back and forth with whether we, give Donovan that extension where you're paying him almost $1 million a game. But every year at the end of the season, it always seems to be, was he hurt? Was he this? Was he that? And he couldn't quite get us over. Again, I don't want to make a decision on that because it's all emotion. But to answer your question, first and foremost, I'm going to take a look at the head coach because, again, he did wet the bed. He did wet the bed starting in game 1 when we blew that 22-point lead. Is he the guy to take us forward? That's where I'm going to look first. Not going to look at anything else because, again, it's all emotion coming from this guy who used to root for Austin Carr, Jimmy Clemens, Jim Brewer, Dick Snyder, Nate Thurman, Jim Jones, all of them old guys. So I don't want to say anything because, again, it's all emotion with me, man.
Yeah, Kenny Stefanski, I think that when you look at him and this team, I think that's the problem. But I don't think you can fire him, man. The one thing I always caution people about firing is that, whether or not they should be, it's such a task to reconstruct a staff and a scouting team, and that regardless of what you think about the Cleveland Cavaliers, they are on the precipice right now of being close to an NBA Finals team. That is a fact. Yeah. So the moves that you have to make is moves where it doesn't obliterate the team or the foundation that you have, unless you know that this isn't going to work and you want to dismantle everything. They're having some of the same talks up here about the Minnesota Timberwolves, about dismantling the Wolves. Whatever move the Cleveland Cavaliers can make in 2 areas, they have to have somebody that is a for sure scorer with Donovan Mitchell. Donovan Mitchell is probably going to give you 18 to 20 points when he doesn't show up anyway. But he also has those games where he'll get you 30 and 40 points when he does show up. He has not been the playoff killer that I expected him to be over the last few years. Okay, but you can't really say that he has come out and played terrible. He has just not done enough. James Harden, when we acquired him, we knew who he was in the playoffs. Like his reputation preceded him. I don't know why people are so shocked because
I thought he was going to be better, L. Train. Yeah. I thought he was going to be better. I did. I thought he was going to be better.
I thought that he would help us during the regular season, and I was hoping that he would be better during the playoffs. But again, he's kind of showing his true colors. So for me, and I know Hot Rod said, what deal can you make without the LeBron James move? The deal that I would make is I would try to find someone that can score, that is multifaceted on the offensive and defensive end, and that's a dog. See, the Cleveland Cavaliers don't really have enough dogs on this team. They got a lot of good players. They got a lot of good, nice guys. But when you look back at the scope of teams that have won championships, Golden State Warriors with Draymond Green, Chicago Bulls back in the day with Dennis Rodman. You could even throw the Chicago Bulls when they had our guy from Cleveland, Charles Oakley. There always seems to be these guys, these dogs on the team that kind of get them through these physical rough spots. And right now, the Cleveland Cavaliers just don't seem to have that dog. So my answer to Hot Rod's question is, I haven't looked at the landscape of the NBA, but I would be really hesitant in trying to blow up this team. But I would add some dudes. I would add some dudes on this team. And it doesn't have to be all about stats. It's got to be guys that are enforcers, guys that are tough enough. So when we get into these games with the New York Knicks and the Detroit Pistons and things get a little bit physical, now we have these, I don't want to call them goons, but that's what they call them in hockey. You've got guys that can come in there and play the physical basketball game, that can get the rebound. like a Dylan Brooks, man. You always need those type of guys on your team, and right now the Cleveland Cavaliers are void of those guys.
So to answer my own question, and you guys have some great takes on this. Number one, and once again, I'm just throwing stuff out here. It's an old adage, you will be where you always been if you do what you've always done. And my thing is with James Harden, what made people think that he was going to be any different than what he is right now? James Harden
Correct.
is who he is.
Yeah.
So James Harden can opt into, I think, $40 million. If I were the Cavaliers, I know they had talked about renegotiating contract. I would tell James Harden, you better opt in because we're not renegotiating. So you can opt in for that 1 year with a club option. I would absolutely, positively go find Drew Holiday. Drew Holiday, I think, was in Portland. Drew Holiday
He is in Portland, yep.
He's a defensive point guard with championship experience. He is a dog. You keep Dennis Schroeder. You keep Keon Ellis. You keep those ancillary pieces. But I'm giving James Harden a 1-year deal, and that's it. Donovan Mitchell is up in the air because Donovan has done some great things with the organization. He's done some great things in the community. I don't want to poo-poo that. But when we just talking basketball, Donovan Mitchell has not been able to get the team over the hump. There needs to be more. Now, I've said this before and I'll say it again. You cannot play Jared Allen and Evan Mobley on the floor at the same time. I've said that for years now. You can't play them. So if you really want, and once again, if you really want Evan Mobley to take that next step, you have to remove his safety blanket. His safety blanket is Jared Allen. That is his safety valve. He knows that if he does not step up and he does not do what he needs to do, he knows that Jared Allen will have his back. Jared Allen has been tremendous. Let's be respectful. We dogged him over the last couple years in the playoffs. Jared Allen has shown up in these playoffs.
He's shown up.
When his number has been called, he has shown up. But at this point, is he there and is he stunting the growth of Evan Mobley? You have to ask yourself that question. When it comes to, as you say, Kenny Stefanski, that's funny. I love that. Of course, I would not fire Stefanski. I would not fire Kenny Atkinson. You got me saying Stefanski. But what I would do is I would get rid of Johnny Bryant. I would get rid of Johnny Bryant because Johnny Bryant is a crutch. He's a crutch to Kenny Atkinson. He's a crutch to Donovan Mitchell, and he is a crutch to James Harden. I would hope and let Johnny Bryant go because Kenny Atkinson in the last 4 months has not coached this team. He's not. I
think we'll really be in trouble if that happens. I hear what you're saying, but I think we'll really be in trouble if that happens. I hear what you're saying, though. I hear what you're saying.
But you have to do something because the only reason Johnny Bryant is there is because of his relationship with James Harden and Donovan Mitchell. I would literally sit James Harden down and say, okay, because I remember James Harden made a statement saying, I don't run a system, I am the system. Well, you were the system when you were 25 to 28 years old. You're 36 years old. You're going to run my system. If you don't run my system, then you can go ahead and sit and pout and get fat and do all the things you've done to get yourself run out of other places. It doesn't matter to me because what has stunted the growth of this team is that ISO ball that they have been running. That is not a Kenny Atkinson offense. Look at the difference between when Darius Garland was running the offense when he was healthy compared to what James Harden is doing. If you want to go apples to oranges,
he wasn't turning the ball over. He wasn't turning it over, I'll tell you that.
He was not turning the ball over. I'd rather take Darius Garland because I know my offense is going to be run. That's my issue. So to answer my question, and like I said, you guys made some great takes. That's what I would do. I will put some parameters around this group because it almost seems like the inmates is running the asylum.
That's exactly what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. The inmates are running the asylum. And I got a little bit of pushback, even though I 95% agree with you, Hot Rod, where you talk about playing two bigs together. I would prefer that they would not play Mobley and Allen together, but I think you can. I just think you have to be the coach that understands what you have personnel-wise and how you do it. If I was the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, the first thing that I would institute, because you got Mobley that can play out on the perimeter, that's not ideal for him. I know he likes to shoot way too many threes, but he has the ability to play out there. So you can run essentially a nice high-low game. And when you run a nice high-low game between Mobley and Allen, there is no help side, especially if you fill the perimeter with shooters, like Strus out there. Where's the help going to come? I think one of the things that coaches miss when they coach basketball is that if you attack east to west, there's always going to be help side defense there. There's always going to be that double team, guys digging out in the post, stuff like that. But when you attack defenses north to south, meaning from the top of the key into the paint, and you have two available shooters in the corner, there can be no help side defense. That is basketball one-on-one. And the New York Knicks don't have anybody that can deal with the Cleveland Cavaliers bigs if you play that way. Kenny Atkinson is choosing not to employ those type of plays or sets into his offense. Like you said, he is allowing James Harden to run a lot of iso ball, dribbling the ball 50 times on the wing instead of doing the common sense thing. And I don't know why his staff, who is paid millions of dollars, like that would be the first thing that I would suggest in our war room. When we're going over out scouting, hey, let's attack these guys from the top of the key into the paint and let's see what they do. If they dig in and try to scramble and double team, we've got shooters on the outside. And and this is why I think the whole Atkinson thing is so egregious, because I'm just a little old coach, man. I've never been on the bench for an NBA team, but I know that there's common sense enough with the personnel that the Cleveland Cavaliers have right now. They should be a more formidable opponent. I'm not saying that they're better than the Knicks. I'm just saying that there are things that Kenny Stefanski is missing right now that as an NBA level coach that is making top dollar in the league, he should not be mentioning. I can sit on my recliner and see things. Okay, this is an adjustment I would make. This is what I would do. And I think you have to get the ball out of James Harden's hands as much as you can in terms of being that initial facilitator, because he's not going to move the ball quick. He's about breaking down. He's about that iso ball. And the sad thing about it is that you made a great point. He's not 24, 25 years old anymore. He can't blow by people like he used to.
Right.
In his head, he's still got the handles, but he's not blowing by anybody, man. You can see he's got the little push off now, the little fadeaway jump shot, the catch and shoot, but he's not actually blowing by people and laying the ball in at the basket. So, I mean, that's a huge dilemma for the Cleveland Cavaliers. Those are some of the adjustments that I think they should make. And again, with that big lineup, Hot Rod and Cap, you got Mobley and Anderson. Play a little bit more zone, man. That's going to hide James Harden.
Yeah.
Like, James Harden is a sieve on defense. Why wouldn't you do some things to hide him? Why wouldn't you do some things to throw the New York Knicks off their game a little bit? Like, you got to mix some stuff up. You're going to the well, and they're beating you at your own game. So you just got to do better, man. You just got to do better.
Yep. There you go.
When you look at the other series, fellas, let's take a look at the San Antonio Spurs and OKC. Great series. Like, who do you see coming out of that thing?
I'm rooting for San Antonio, but one thing that stuck out, I think it was Game 3 when the last game that OKC won. They scored 76 bench points, man. I have never heard of that. That is something that stuck out. 76 points off the bench. You talk about your bench guys having your back, okay? Man, I tell you, that's something. And again, like I say, that series is going to go at least 6, if not 7, okay? Because again, like you say, the champion is coming out of the West. Victor Wembanyama, however you pronounce his name, Wemby, He's 3 years away from his prime. Okay, he's
Oh,
still
man,
growing.
that's scary, Cap.
He's got another 3 years before he's in his early prime, which is scary. What can't he do? Again, if he stays healthy, we may never talk about Kareem, Jordan, some of the other greats, LeBron, some of the other greats from the past, if this kid stays healthy his whole time. And then also, too, for the first time, I saw Greg Popovich. They showed a shot of him last night with him and Tim Duncan sitting next to each other talking. And Pop looks good. Looks good, man. He looks good for everything that he's been through. So I tell you what, man, it's scary what the West, has out there with those two teams. And then next year, again, teams that weren't really, really good this year are going to resurface. Indiana's going to be back with Halliburton. That Boston team is going to be back, okay? And then just take the teams that are currently in the playoffs right now. The Cavaliers may never get back close. So they're going to have to do something. We're going to have to do something in the offseason because the way we sit right now, status quo, just ain't going to cut it because teams that weren't around are going to get better. But again, just to answer your question, I tell you, that's one thing that stuck out. 76 points off the bench, the other night. And that OKC team, I root against them. I don't like them. I don't like their style. Dylan Brooks came out with a little song about SGA, I forgot what his title, but there's a little song floating around out there. It's titled The Unethical Hooper, about how he flops and throws himself into shots and gets calls. It's a funny little tune, but that's how the league sees them. And those guys get the calls and this and that. And I don't like them going forward, but, those teams are better than ours. And they're looking a whole lot better than where we look right now. Tell you that.
So I'm not, in this series, I see, Victor in this last game, he went supernova. And when Victor Wembanyama gets in that mode, he's hard to guard, even at his size. But
Impossible.
I really like Stephon Castle. He's the one that I've been paying a lot of attention to. Not just Wemby, but Castle and even Ron Harper's boy has been playing very, very well. What I've been telling people is that this is still a Greg Popovich organization. So it's funny that, Cap, you said that Pop was there. If you look at how the San Antonio Spurs are playing, they're playing a Popovich style of basketball. Okay? Yes, they have the superstar. They have the new Tim Duncan. They have the new David Robinson. Okay? But they're playing team basketball. Okay. And so with OKC has the experience. Who do I see coming out of this? Honestly, I think OKC will come out, but I think they're going to be punished. And the Spurs are going to be a force to reckon with over the next 5 years plus. Because all of those young men on that team, they're very young. I think they got one old guy on that team, Barnes. He's the only true vet on that team. But I see it going 7, but I think OKC will come out of it. Now, here's the thing about Oklahoma City. Sam Presti has done a fabulous job in putting this team together, and they have a plethora of first-round picks. Plethora. All Sam Presti is going to do is retool. But here's my hot take, guys. Giannis Antetokounmpo will end up in Oklahoma City if Oklahoma City is smart.
I agree. I heard that. I heard that take earlier this week. Yep. If they lose, he will be there.
Because they need somebody like Giannis if they're going to go up against the Spurs every year. So don't be surprised. Don't be surprised if Golden State goes for him, but I don't want to see Giannis in Golden State, just a bunch of old fossils running around. But I'd rather see Giannis in Oklahoma City. That's going to lock up the West for the Thunder for a pretty long time. So, but to answer your question, L Train, yeah, I see Oklahoma City surviving this series.
So let's say OKC wins. They beat the Spurs. I think we probably agree that they probably go on and beat the Knicks. Do they pursue a Giannis after that, or do they keep the team the same, or is it just one of those things where if they lose to the Spurs, they see where their kryptonite is. They've got to bring something in to try to stave off that kryptonite, which is Wembanyama.
So I believe that regardless whether they win or lose, it would be the smart thing to do because you got Jalen Williams has been often hurt. He's hurt again. He's the second best player on the team, but he's always hurt. So now SGA is really just going on his own. A lot of the ancillary players have been doing a pretty good job, but SGA needs more consistent help. And so that's why I believe whether they win this series or lose the series, I think Sam Presti is thinking of it because he has the assets to trade for him and still have first round picks. Everybody else is going to have to gut their teams just to get Giannis, even Cleveland. If Cleveland wanted to trade Evan Mobley, it's not just going to be Giannis and Evan straight up. They got to give up some other ancillary pieces. Well, Oklahoma City doesn't, the pieces that they have, they can replace. So I think that whether they win the series or lose the series, I think that's the viable option for Presti to make that team a true dynasty.
Yeah. Yep. And, earlier in the week, I was going back and forth, with if we should blow our team up and, do you deal Evan Mobley for a Giannis? Giannis is much older, okay, and injuries are starting to come into play. Now, granted, he is a much better player than Mobley. He is, but he's older, okay? And, the injuries are starting to kind of settle in. Now, granted, this is Mobley, what? This will be going into season number 6. He's no, young pup himself, but he's much younger than Giannis. And I wouldn't want to, swap the two of them, plus us giving up, some other stuff out of the cupboard. I don't want to, have our cupboards empty, by making that deal. So I'm kind of hoping that Giannis ends up somewhere else other than us, giving up everything in the cupboards, plus, a younger Evan Mobley. I don't want that to happen.
Yeah, the key word to all of this is I think Hot Rod hit the nail down on the head when it comes to OKC. Like I could see it, but I think the battle with them is going to be, especially if they win this series, why blow up something that's not, and I shouldn't use the word blow up. You are acquiring an asset and you're giving back, equal value. So they're not blowing up the team. But when you've got 2 championships back to back, you really don't want to mess with that. And I've always looked at Giannis Antetokounmpo in this realm the last year, all the speculation about him possibly getting traded. I think he is a championship killer because teams that are looking for that final piece are going to look at Giannis Antetokounmpo attractively. And I think I go back to what Hot Rod just said about gutting your team. Whoever acquires Giannis Antetokounmpo, unless there is a deal out there that I just don't see or just don't get, I think he depletes you. I think you're going to have to give up enough where you are not going to be the same team. And so you better hope an injury-prone Giannis can be available during the playoffs when you need him, because he has been injury-prone the last couple of years, whether it's regular season or whether it's playoffs. So it's a gamble. The scary thought is, here's my hot take, fellas, as I look across the landscape of the NBA, I look at the Spurs and how dangerous the Spurs are going to be. Like right now, they are a good basketball team, but there are going to be some guys that want to come to play with Wembanyama in future years. I don't see a trade or an organization out there in the next 3 years that's going to be able to keep up with that. I think Wembanyama is absolutely extraordinary. That's why the window is now. That's why the window is now. If OKC is going to beat them, they got to beat them now. If the Cleveland Cavaliers want to beat them, they got to beat them now. Signing Harden to an extension and speculating about bringing LeBron James you better bring in something that you can throw on top of your already good team now without depleting it to be able to deal with the San Antonio Spurs. And I just don't think a lot of teams can do that. If Giannis goes to Golden State, what does that do? That doesn't do anything. And in terms of my opinion, that does nothing, because what Golden State's going to have to give back to be able to acquire Giannis, not going to be the same team. You can look at the Lakers. You can look
Right.
at any team that's going to go out there and try to acquire Giannis, man. And I think if you acquire him, you are not going to be the same team that you were before. And that's my only hesitation with the Giannis Antetokounmpo trade.
Yep.
So also,
There you go.
real quick to get
Go ahead.
a little bit of pushback because you said, when it comes to, being a championship team, certain, you wouldn't gut a championship team or you wouldn't, they have the assets to do it, Oklahoma City. But isn't that what Golden State did in acquiring Kevin Durant? They were already
Yeah,
a
but they didn't trade
championship
for
ball-
Kevin Durant.
No, I understand that. I understand
Right.
that.
But
But but they needed Kevin Durant simply because they knew that they could not deal with LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers as hard as they were coming, and they needed somebody to neutralize LeBron James.
Mhm.
And what I'm saying is Giannis Antetokounmpo on that Oklahoma City team is the best bet to neutralize Victor Wembanyama. The best bet because there's no other ones out there. That's what I mean. You know what I mean?
Gotcha.
yeah. No, and I totally agree with you. I mean, obviously, man, you add Giannis to that team, they are going to be very formidable. It just depends on what that team looks like after Giannis. Like I look at that's a great thing because I thought about the Kevin Durant deal. And if Kevin Durant would have stayed in Golden State, they probably would have even had more of a dynasty than what they had. But then you had Draymond calling Kevin Durant the B word and, Draymond knocking people out in practice. And that whole thing just kind of got out of sorts there. But again, if they cannot deplete their squad and add a Giannis,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the move to make. Why wouldn't Giannis want to do that?
Yeah.
That would
Yeah,
definitely
yeah.
be the move to make.
Yep. Sure will. Yep.
Fellas,
Okay.
the NBA playoffs have been very entertaining. Both the teams that I root for, pretty much done. Timberwolves are done. Cleveland Cavaliers are probably going to be done tonight. It will be nice for them to show a little bit of heart for the fans and get a gentleman's sweep, but they're not coming back from 3 games down. Like I just don't see that at all. But we'll keep an eye on it on 3 the hard way and see what happens. Hot Rod, I heard you have some coaches call outs, man. What do you got?
So my first coach's call out is Jason Kidd, who was let go by the Dallas Mavericks. And people are very upset.
I'll take him in Cleveland now, Hot Rod. I'll take him.
Well, I'm gonna tell you the
I'll
pause
take
right
him.
now, Cap. I'm gonna tell you the pause, and here's why I'm gonna tell you the pause. Jason Kidd is not a good coach. I don't understand why people are making such a big deal off of Jason Kidd. Jason Kidd was a part of the reason that Luka Doncic was sent to Los Angeles. I'd have fired him afterwards. He stayed around a little bit longer than he should have. Okay? He was terrible in Milwaukee, where he had to step out and to get a timeout with a cup of water and stuff. No, Jason Kidd is not a good coach. Jason Kidd is in the same ilk as Doc Rivers. Doc Rivers is not a great coach. So I don't understand why people are in such an uproar that Jason Kidd was fired. Good riddance. Jason Kidd deserved to be fired. He had Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, Anthony Davis, and they still couldn't win. And then you trade Luka, and you said, Jason Kidd, that it was okay to trade your franchise guy after Dirk Nowitzki. So he should have been fired, okay? He should have been fired, and they should have asked him to pay back half of his salary. That's how bad Jason Kidd has been. That's one. Everybody knows my next one is coming.
Man.
Kenny Atkinson, Kenny Stefanski, out here looking like, that he's lost a step. His press conferences are ridiculous. They are absolutely ridiculous. You're sitting up there, oh yeah, analytically, we won, 3 games. No, but physically, you lost all 3. What is going on here? And then here's Donovan Mitchell. Oh, well, we'll just have to look at the film and we'll improve. Donovan, I don't know what Coco doing to you, but you need to stop. Because, bruh, you done lost your legs. You done lost all that, brother. And then James Harden says the same thing all the time. My goodness. So my coach's call-outs is in the NBA. Yes, Kenny Stefanski. Sorry. Donovan Mitchell. Sorry. James Harden. Pitiful. Jason Kidd on the unemployment line. And buyers beware. I heard you say that, Cap. I'd take Jason Kidd. If Jason Kidd were to be the coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers, then I would go to the G League and just root for the G League. That's exactly what I would do, because Jason Kidd is terrible.
Let me ask you this, Hot Rod. Because I know you're not a fan. You're not a fan of Jason Kidd, but I'm gonna ask you right now today, if there was a Game 7 today between the Cleveland Cavaliers and the New York Knicks, who would you want on that sideline with your Cavs? Would you want Kenny Stefanski or would you want Jason Kidd?
I want Jason Kidd.
I want Greg Popovich.
He wouldn't one of your options. He wouldn't one of the choices. He wouldn't one of the choices.
Hell, I want Lenny Wilkins then. Let me bring back Lenny.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Give me Chuck
I hear
Davis.
you, Hot Rod. I hear you. Yeah. Take him.
But to answer your question, if it was Jason Kidd or Kenny Atkinson Game 7, I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. If all chips fell down, I'm going to take Kenny Atkinson. Only reason that I would take Kenny Atkinson is because he's under the Steve Kerr umbrella. That's the only reason, because he does know how to coach. I don't know what his issue is this year, but Kenny Atkinson is a good coach. Something is wrong. Something is going on in that organization that no one is talking about, because Kenny Atkinson is a good coach. I don't know what is going on. I'm going to be honest with you. My speculation is this. I said this to a family member the other day. I don't think Kenny Atkinson was in agreement to James Harden coming to Cleveland. I believe Kenny Atkinson knew that he would have to scrap his entire offense because James Harden was coming. I don't think he was 10 toes down with James Harden coming to Cleveland, but he had to put on a good organizational face. That's my assumption.
That's a good take.
That's my assumption.
That's a good take, Hot Rod. Yeah. You might be onto something with that. Yeah, you may be onto something with that. Yeah.
We'll see if the Cavs can pull this thing out today, man, and extend the series. You never know what can happen. Great assessment by you guys. Cap, I believe, is your start one. No, Hot Rod, I believe, is your start one, bench one, cut one, erase one for the week.
All right. Yes. Here we go, gentlemen. I want you to rank the worst owners in sport.
Ooh, okay.
So starting first is Donald Sterling, former owner of the Los Angeles Clippers. Second, Art Modell. You knew he was going to be on this list.
Wow.
And I'm talking Art Modell of the Cleveland Browns, not the Baltimore Ravens. Then you have Jerry Reinsdorf, the owner of the Chicago Bulls. And finally, Mike Brown, the owner of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Yeah. Okay, so again, our start one would be the worst. So it would, from start, bench, cut, erase, starting at the top. That would be your worst one.
That would be the worst one.
Right, Hot Rod?
Yes.
Woo!
Tough.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Because I finally forgiven Art Modell, but okay. Let's see. Yeah, I forgive him.
All right, I'm going to go first.
Go ahead.
I'll go first.
Train.
I'm going to start Don Sterling. Egregious. Just terrible owner. One of the worst owners in the history of owners owning a sport. Don Sterling is my start. I would bench Art Modell. I'm going to bench Art Modell. I am going to cut Mike Brown. I'm cutting Mike Brown. And I'm going to erase Jerry Reinsdorf.
Okay.
Don Sterling, Art Modell, Mike Brown, Jerry Reinsdorf.
Wow. Okay. I'm kind of close to L Train. I too am going to start Donald Sterling as the worst and not so good of a human being as well. Not a good person. I'm going to bench Art Modell. Like I say, I finally forgave him. Art was a terrible businessman. Terrible businessman. Terrible businessman. But I forgive him. I've finally forgiven him. I'm going to cut Reinsdorf. I'm going to cut him. You know, again, I tell you, that Bulls team could have won another 2 or 3 more championships had he not, broke that thing up. And I'm going to erase Mike Brown, down there in the Bengals, Cincinnati.
Terrible.
I'm going to erase him. Yeah, I'm going to erase him. He's very insignificant, that organization as a whole. Prior to that, the great Paul Brown, the orchestrator of football, period. Give him love, but Mike Brown, I'll erase him. So those are mine.
All right. Well, I'm going to start Donald Sterling. I think we all agree with Donald Sterling.
Yep.
Yeah.
I am going to bench Jerry Reinsdorf. I am going to cut Art Modell. I haven't forgiven him yet. I'm not as kind as Cap. And I will erase Mike Brown because he's a close second to Donald Sterling. Although Donald Sterling said some egregious things, Mike Brown is a cheapskate. So I just literally. And then a honorable mention to Daniel Snyder, former owner of the Commanders up there with Cap.
Redskins, right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Wow. That was a good one, man. I would have never
That
thought
was
of
a
that.
good one. That was a good one.
Yeah, I'd have never thought of that.
Donald Sterling, Art Modell, Jerry Reinsdorf, Mike Brown, a good pool of candidates to choose from when it comes to that topic. That is for sure. Start one, bench one, cut one with Hot Rod. Nice job. Fellas, time for our parting shot.
I'll go first. I want to shout out a principal in North Charleston, South Carolina, by the name of Mr. Henry Darby, okay? He's a principal at a high school in a very rundown, not so well area in North Charleston. I'm very familiar with that community. Being from South Carolina originally, having family in South Carolina, and Charleston being my first duty station when I joined the Navy back in the day. But Mr. Darby, he's a principal at a high school, and some of his students found him at a Walmart. They found him at a Walmart because he was kind of wearing a disguise. He didn't want to be seen. But what the principal was doing, man, after his long days in the building, he was going to work at Walmart every night from 10 at night to 7 in the morning, okay? And what he was doing, he was donating his paychecks to families at his school, to the kids that go to his school, to help the parents, pay for food, get their rent paid, just to keep things afloat so the kids can continue to come to school, okay? They didn't, disclose how long he had been doing this, but he had been doing it for quite some time, man. Again, working all day in the school and then busting his behind, at night, stocking shelves in Walmart. Like I say, he would wear disguises because he didn't want anybody to recognize him. You talk about being all in for the people that you serve, okay? Working an extra job just to make sure that their families keep food on their table, okay? When I heard that, it got me choked up. So shout out to Mr. Henry Darby of North Charleston, South Carolina, for going above and beyond and saying, hey, man, my kids matter, these kids matter, and so does their families. Shout out to him, Mr. Henry Darby, North Charleston, South Carolina. Yeah.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yep.
And my shout out is just really simple. I would, just want to honor those who have served and that made the ultimate sacrifice for us to be where we are today, on this Memorial Day. So, shout out to all those that are currently serving, who have served, but also the ones that, laid their lives down for the fact that I can sit here and talk to you two gentlemen today. And so I just want to celebrate, families of the armed forces and just say enjoy the day, but don't forget about the men and women who have sacrificed their lives for our freedom. So that's my shout out.
Great shout outs. Great shout outs, fellas. For Three the Hard Way Nation out there, people know, that I've had some medical issues the past couple of weeks. The one area that I want to shout out is to the medical team and stuff at Mayo Clinic. I am very fortunate enough to have lived in two places in Cleveland when I was growing up. We had the Cleveland Clinic, which is world renowned. And then, living up here near Minneapolis, we've got the Mayo Clinic, which is world renowned. And so the people that come out of those systems, their level of training is absolutely fantastic. Through all my years, I've been pretty lucky, man. I have not been, a sick person. I rarely ever catch the flu. I rarely ever catch a cold or anything like that. But the level of service that I have been getting the last couple of weeks, just dealing with my gallbladder and, all that stuff, man, it has been absolutely fantastic. The nurses, the doctors, just the follow-up, giving you feedback about things that are definitely going on. It just makes me feel lucky that I'm in a place that has that level of healthcare and services like that. So hats off. And a lot of them, the kicker was, and I think I told you guys this, a lot of them, I recruited in high school and, play basketball for me at Viterbo. So to have those ladies that I have been coaching for like 4 years to come in and have some time to take care of me, man, has been absolutely fantastic. The Mayo Clinic is top notch. So that is my take on that. I just want to thank those people, for sacrificing their time and whatever, just like the military as well, to help people like myself get better. So that is mine, fellas. I appreciate it.
All right. Get well, L Train. Get well.
But yeah, man, for sure. We'll be back. We got 3 to Hard Way Nation and people out there, fans. A lot of it hasn't been, we've been gone for 3 weeks because of health stuff. We've had some technical difficulties. Cap just told me to share with me today that our podcast did not get up last week. Nothing alerted me to that, but we will make sure this one gets up and we'll continue to pump out 3 to Hard Way Nation. Because looking at all the emails and stuff that people are sending, you guys miss us. So we want to keep pumping out that content, man.
That's right.
We want to keep pumping out that content. We want to continue to do Mystery Browns of the Week.
Yeah.
We want to keep
I gotta catch up. I gotta catch up. I'm down 10-4. Hot Rod's beating me. Now, the last one got waved off, remember, because Hot Rod pulled a fast one. Well, you and Hot Rod pulled a fast one. So that last one got waved off.
Hot Rod didn't have anything to do with that. That was my mistake.
Yeah, Hot Rod should have said something, though. He knew better. Hot Rod should have said something. Hot Rod should have said something, old Hot Rod.
Yeah. But we're going to continue with that.
Yeah,
we'll be
he
back
out here
next week,
sounding
man.
like a Kenny Stefanski right now.
Hey, and here's the deal. If for some reason the Cleveland Cavaliers pull this thing out to a game 7, like you never know. You never know, fellas. When we were down 3-1 to Golden State, the LeBron-Draymond game, I don't think anybody expected us to come back against the greatest team in the world at that time, ever in the history of the NBA. So you never know. We may try, and I'll talk to the fellas, 3 to Hard Way Nation, but we may come back, maybe have like a 30-minute pregame live session on Riverside, preview the game and watch Game 7 afterwards, man. So yeah. We'll talk about doing it if that were to happen.
Yeah, it would be nice, and it would be the first.
That's right.
Yeah, it happened in hockey one time, but it's never happened in NBA. It happened in hockey one time.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Happened in hockey.
Hey, Cleveland has always been on the other end of these things. We might be on the other side. You never know. But hey, fellas, thanks for a great show. I appreciate you.
Y'all have a good week.
Yep. Talk to you soon.
Great show, fellas.
Yep.
All right.
See you when we see you.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share.